the lowest common denominator question comes in. Now, for me, as we even talk to the question of how do you debunk this, apart from bringing it to the center, and I agree we need to look at it, stare it in the face. I think when I talk about the whole question of getting something that takes the place of tribalism, we need what I call big thinking. And by big thinking, I'm saying let's have ideas. Let's build huge companies. For instance, the other day I was listening to people talking about big companies that are earning a lot of money, 12 billion. And I said to myself, or rather I fundamentally believe they're not even big enough. I think they should be earning 100 billion, 200 billion if we can. I think companies like Safaricom should be out there making a lot of money across Africa. I think it should be employing many Kenyans. I think they should be earning good money. And I think we need about another 1,000 Safaricoms. And if we get 1,000 Safaricoms, then the whole question of who sits where, eats what, and whether in government or whatever, dies.
Absolutely. Koinange, let me ask you this, and I'm coming back to the sports thing because this is fundamental to us as Kenyans.
Yeah.
There's a recent steeplechase race somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
From number 1 to number 10 was kip. Did we say it was 10 Kalenjins?
No.
Did any one of us say
we don't even care, we cheer.
Yes. And it's, again, the politics of the moment. I was part of a political campaign, and I'm sure this happened with every political campaign. I mean, this wasn't specific to where I was. We actually used to profile wards, constituencies, counties, the country. We could profile. So when you're going to a particular place, you have a particular message for that constituency because you know the profile of people who are there. This is how we play our politics. And the danger, and why I say this is so dangerous, needs to be mainstreamed, is because what is said, it's like a sermon. What is said on that podium by the politicians is not challenged. There's some people who live there believing that this country is run by 2 tribes. Nobody challenges it.
And the people in Mashinani believe that.
And they will walk out and they will go and meet his Kikuyu neighbor and sit down with his Kalenjin neighbor and Luo neighbor and start saying, you guys are stealing from the government. And that is just the total. It's frustrating.
Absolutely.
When you think about it.
Stand by. We got a caller online, and by the way, the telephone number is 0712 915 117. That's 0712 915 117. Do we have that caller? Amekata simu sawa sawa. Ken.
Yes.
Can we get over that? Can we get over the fact that Harambee Stars is dominated by Luos and Luyas?
For me, Jeff,
we're already over that.
Are we over that?
I think we're already over that. Sometimes I wonder if the all Kikuyus would actually be over it. But that's what worries me sometimes. Because, look, we're having beef on Twitter because we are 3 Kikuyus seated over here. If we were 3 Luos, or we were 3 Luyas, or we were 3 Kambas, would we be having the same conversation? No. And this is what annoys me. This is what puts me... I go out there and I'm speaking to people and saying, yes, I'm a Kikuyu, so what? I don't earn as a Kikuyu. I don't get paid as a Kikuyu. The money I have is the same money you have. How does my tribe become such a big thing to you that you can't see anything else? That when you see 3 gentlemen who come from totally different backgrounds, the only thing you see is tribe.
Ken, you've talked about this before, and this goes to the fundamental core. And we have to compare ourselves sometimes with other countries. And you've spoken about Americans or America as a country, and you have Italian Americans, as they call themselves, Russian Americans, Polish Americans, African Americans, Mexican Americans. But you touch an American out there,
they swam. Touch one here. Or they will swam. You'll have Apache helicopters here to lift that American. But in Kenya, you touch maybe a Kikuyu or a Luo outside there, they'll say, it's a Kikuyu.
Correct.
I mean, I like giving this joke, nasty joke. You get to an accident scene, and this is how Kenyans generally sometimes operate. And you ask them, is there anybody who was hurt? Then somebody says, no, 1 woman and 1 Kisi. Or 1 Kikuyu or 1 Luo, whatever it is. So we have
dehumanize.
We dehumanize. And that's what I'm saying. That sense of utuness needs to rise. So that the statement that ungwana ni utu ushenzi unyama becomes, we grow towards the ungwananess, not the ushenziness.
But why do we applaud these leaders? Why do we give them the airtime, the time of day? Why do we do that?
We haven't had alternatives. And maybe now we're starting to get alternatives. We've got conversations coming up about what we do not like. Kenya talks about what we do not like. Kenya votes against what we don't like. We never have what we like. We never have what we are voting for. We're always voting against something. And I'm praying, as we look at this government, as we look at Jubilee and what they're doing, I am praying that by 2017, and by the way, I have told my friends in Jubilee, they will not win another election the way they won the last one. It is not possible. For if they intend to win and this 2017 election, they must bring Kenyans together. We must actually see Uhuru Kenyatta go to Northeastern. He hasn't gone to Northeastern since he was elected as president. Why? Because the president visiting your place for some funny reason, and he doesn't bring anything. But the president visiting your place is a big thing. Let him use his office to actually bring Kenyans together.
Gentlemen, we've got Oliver from Kisumu City on the phone right now. Oliver, you are live on JKL. Talk to me. Oliver Mikata. Okay, Kennedy Otieno says they are in the comfort zone. That's why they can afford to naively display their disregard for minorities. I think he's referring to us three.
How are we in the comfort zone?
Minorities. What are the minorities?
I thought we are a minority, by the way. You know, we actually are a minority.
42 against
really
one against one.
Not even that.
Yeah.
You can't be a majority when you're 20 or 18% of the population.
Yeah.
This feeling that Kikuyus are a majority
Less than
is
a fifth.
total. It doesn't work. But then also it shows the level of thinking we have. We completely rubbish whatever somebody is saying, specifically because the person who is saying it doesn't come from your community. Rather than listen to him and challenge what he's saying, you challenge where he's from. And you know, you can't fight somebody based on where he's from. The minute you tell me there's something wrong with where I'm from, I go defensive, I go vicious.
Here's a point from Peter. He says, have we ever asked ourselves why we fight ourselves, we poor Kenyans, for the sake of the rich who wine and dine together?
You know, during the post-election violence, where I live, my next door neighbor was Aluo. And you know, he would be in my house. We are watching the television, wondering what is happening. I would be in his house. We were not fighting, but the common man, the gentleman or lady who's feeling the weight of the cost of living really is tearing each other apart in the name of their leaders, and that's the tragedy. You know, for me, when I talk about consciousness, there are 4 levels of consciousness I talk about. The first one is what I call unconscious ushenzi. Meaning you do ushenzi and you don't even know you're doing ushenzi.
You have no clue.
It's like a person who speaks, and when you ask them, what are you doing? They ask you, mate ni yako. They start even getting annoyed. How dare you ask?
Yes.
And then there is what I call conscious ushenzi. Whatever you do, you actually plan to hurt people. You send Twitter things knowing very well that you're hurting people. Yeah. That's conscious ushenzi. And then the next level is what I call conscious ungwana. You consciously tell yourself that you're going to do what is right. And the last level is unconscious ungwana, where it becomes yourself. So that whatever you do, you don't even have to think about it. It just flows out of you. Unfortunately for this country, we are the first 2 levels, mainly.
Yeah.
Unconscious ushenzi and conscious ushenzi. So that even a professor at the University of Nairobi or or Kenyatta University or Moi University, his first allegiance is to his tribal leader. And when the cards come falling, he joins that secretariat to go and push whatever his tribal agenda. And as far as we don't lift ourselves up, we are finished. And that's why the good book says it must be of the spirit to save the flesh. If we don't understand that, then we are animals, just bare animals like dogs or hyenas.
That dog you spoke
pigs.
about. Or worse. Gunjiri, and you've gotten a lot of hate, just like all of us on social media. Those people who hide under pseudonyms.
Yes.
And they can spew the venom, spew the hatred at you. What is it about them? Did they just have unhappy childhoods? Were they abused as children?
No, they're just cowards. They're just cowards. I keep saying, look, if I have a problem with you, I'm going to use my real name and I'm going to tell you. And one of the things I keep telling people is I am willing to be wrong. I am willing to be wrong. I am willing to tell you this is what I think about you, Jeff. And then you tell me, no, boss, this is the truth. And I'll be like, okay, then I was wrong. This thing of hiding behind pseudonyms to throw barbs at each other. And then when you get identified with one pseudonym, you change another one and you start throwing barbs. Or you have 5 and then you insult one person and then you're saying 5 people are insulting one person. It is wrong. There's policing that needs to be done on social media, and I guess we are going to get there. Yeah. But then I'm coming back to where we actually began. The whole idea of patriotism and why it's such a difficult topic to us is because patriotism is a deliberate decision to stand with your country. Deliberate decision. They say, Mark Twain said, you stand with your country all the time, then with your government when it's right. And when you think about it, our government is being attacked by terrorism. You cannot take a position against your government for terrorism. When we were talking about the Americans, and the other guys who I really look at is the Israeli. The Israeli will turn the world upside down for one
of their own.
It doesn't matter where he is, they will turn the world upside down. When I think about it, it's like family. I have 3 brothers. Even if he's wrong, I will not lie to you. Even if he's wrong and somebody else attacks him, I've got his back first. This is where we need to get to as Kenyans. The first thing is circle our wagons for us. Sort ourselves out. But then just remember that this country is bigger than every one of us. You did not choose to get born here, and this is one of the most beautiful countries we have in the entire world.
No doubt about it. Speaking of countries, we're going to show the viewers a map in the next block. But before we go to break, listen to this. The Friendly Wizard says, let's agree that tribalism is just primitive behavior, very, very low. And Ken, is that why Muzungus, outsiders, they look at us and they say, these primitive people, they still call us monkeys.
But a word of caution. But
natives.
But a word of caution. I think in them calling us natives, they're also being shensis. Because look at World War I.
Yeah.
Look at World War II.
What was it for?
It was the Germans against the French against the Italians, the Italians against the Russians. It was tribal.
It was at international level.
It was at an international level. And by the way, they did it twice. And they killed 100 million people. 100 million people. All right?
Yeah.
And so they have no moral authority to call us that. But what they then did, when they realized they are going to decimate themselves, they then quickly, created the League of Nations, and then they created the United Nations. But note, by the way, the Muzungu in his shenziness is still creating arsenals upon arsenals. They have bombs that can annihilate this world over and over again.
Yeah.
Pointed against who? Russians. Pointed against who? French. Pointed against who? Germans.
The same people.
The same people. And if you want to create a nuclear weapon, they tell you we'll take you out before you create one, because then they think you're coming for them. So they have no moral authority. But having said that, the struggle that they had is the same struggle that we are having. And unfortunately, in Africa, we still have not gotten to a point where we've realized and gotten to a point and said, wait a minute, we will fight and we will still get to the table. So why don't we just get to the table now? Why don't we appreciate who we are? And by the way, one of the things that I think went fundamentally wrong during the colonial era is the colonialists made us disregard our what I may call nations, because if you look at the Luo, you look at the Kikuyu, you look at the Kisii, all communities are nations.
Yeah.
So we are a nation of nations, and that cannot be denied. And so when we deny our own self-consciousness, then what happens is you have leaders calling themselves leaders of these nations who are not even the true leaders. The fact that you can box everybody's ears, the fact that you can shout harder than everybody else, the fact that you can crown yourself a tribal leader, then you become a tribal leader. But if we recast our system so that if Jeff is going to be an elder of the Kikuyu, then we ask, what does Jeff have so that he becomes an elder of the Kikuyu? All right. Today we have some communities. By the way, somebody just has to say you're the elder, and you become the elder, and you're a crook. We know you're a crook.
Yeah.
And so what happens? The rot continues
on the inside.
And the inside. And so for me, what I say is that this is not unique to Africa. The white man has almost annihilated himself on the same basis. But it would be stupidness, ushenzi, to keep walking that path.
And we play into his game.
And we play into his game.
Listen to this,
Yep.
Senator Moses Wetangula.
Yeah.
He's just texted me.
Yep.
Says, Jeff, you can do better.
He can also do much better.
He can do a lot better.
As a leader.
In fact, he can do a lot better. Because every time I look at my friend Wetangula talking on that platform, he looks like he's possessed, talking about two communities. I mean, he can do better. He can do better.
Yeah. And it starts with...
As we can do better.
Actually, everybody can do
He
better.
can do better.
Everybody can do better.
Senator, are you listening? You can call in if you want. 0712 915 117. In the meantime, you can tweet at Gunjiru Wambogo, at Ungwana Kenya, at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL, and the hate meter just hit bright red. It's peaking, guys. It's peaking. But bring it out, right?